we're going to talk about if you can quit your job and bake full-time. Do you make vegan macarons? So I do, but we aren't selling them right now. So I've been saying this for a while, but I'm going to make a YouTube video about that. Okay, so if you are not doing this full time, so if you have a home bakery, but you are still working another job, comment me. You have a home bakery, actually, or you want to start a home bakery, but you're still working another job. Basically, if you haven't taken your home bakery full time, comment me. Yeah, so I do make vegan macarons, but I haven't sold them in a while. But it is something we offer sometimes. Today, I'm going to talk about just lost my job and will be baking full time. That is something I heard a lot last year from a lot of the students in the home bakery blueprint program. They were like, let's do this. Let me in the course because I lost my job, so I have to be doing this full time. And it really did jumpstart a lot of businesses because it was like, we have to do this. This is how I have to make money. I'm going to just talk about how this is possible, but how you kind of have to figure it out. So write this down. If not in the comments, unless you want to, but probably don't put this in the comments, but write down how much you are making per month at your current job right now. So write that down, write that number, whatever that is, how much you're making, don't put it in the comments, but how much you're making at your current job per month. That's how I started. I've been making the push since summer to be full-time. Yeah, that's how I started too. I had another job that was supporting me while I was doing the business, which was really hard during the summer because I did like 5 farmers markets when I first started. So those first couple of summers, those were really hard, but then the winter it was like, oh crap, what am I going to do? So write down what you make per month, not in the comments, write down where you are. Because this is also kind of going back to yesterday where we talked about raising prices. Of course, I'm going to be talking about that again. But write down how much you're making at your current job per month. Now, write down how much your, let's say, one of your best sellers is, how much you're charging for that after expenses. So how much you make from that. So, say you charge $2.75, but you only make you make $2 from each macaron. So write that down. So let's say, I'm going to do an example. Let's say you make $3,000 a month at your current full-time job that you want to quit and do baking full-time. So how do you calculate how to pay yourself? So I would do, it kind of depends on where you are, but I would at least do minimum wage. But I always say to do more than that, but that's a good starting point. Okay, now let's say $3,000 a month at your current job, and your macarons, you make $2 each macaron. So that would be 3,000 divided by $2. That would be 1,500. So you would need to make 1,500 macarons per month. And I like to divide it by 4 weeks. So that would mean you need to make 375 macarons a week to keep up with your full-time job, what you make per month. Now, I just like to show that as an example where maybe you need to raise your price if you're like, oh my gosh, I have to make thousands of macarons a week if I even want to get close to what I'm making at my current job. Or, oh wow, that's a lot easier than I thought. Okay, how can I make this much? How can I make these many macarons and sell them every week? When you break it down like that, it becomes a little bit easier. Sometimes I wouldn't necessarily say it's 375 macarons per week, but maybe keep it at 1,500 macarons per month, because sometimes you have an event where you sell all 1,500 macarons, and then other times you have a week where you don't sell anything. So does that make sense? Does anyone want to say how many macarons they'd have to make, or how many of whatever they'd have to make, whatever they figured out per week? So when you break it down like that, then you can see, okay, this is how much I need to make I'm sure a lot of you have already, yes, so that's after expenses. Definitely don't do $3,000 divided by 275. Do it after whatever the prices you're making. So 250 decorated cookies per week. Does that make you feel like you need to up your price to get to that point, or do you like that amount per week? 26 pies monthly. That doesn't sound too bad, does it? Well, what do you think? How many pies do you usually sell per week? 250 decorated cookies per week. I don't do decorated cookies, so that sounds like a lot to me. But what are you charging per cookie? I'm debating whether to start a baking business. Shall I? I say go for it, but I'm biased. I'm a teen, by the way. I have a whole YouTube video on that. On how to start a bakery, a home bakery as a teen. Okay, so I said 250 decorated cookies per week. Does that sound reasonable to you, or is that a lot? How much are you charging per cookie? So actually, 102 monthly, 26 per week. What are you charging per pie? And does that seem ridiculous to make that many? If you're comfortable, share what you came up with. So how many of whatever you sell, you would need to sell per week to keep up with your full-time job, to quit your full-time job and do this. Or sometimes I say, a lot of the times when I'm interviewing people for the program, I say, what would you need to quit your job? And some of them say what they made at their current job and say, I want to make this much. But others say, I made this much at my current job, but I don't need that much to live. I could live on less at first. So that is something, if you're able to live on less than you're making your current job, you could also use that number. Reasonable-ish, trying to get more consistent orders weekly. Okay, now, what I would do is figure out, okay, how do I get that number? How do I sell that amount? Say I have to sell 375 macarons per week. What can I do to do that consistently so I know when I want to quit my job that I can keep that money coming in? So, and also, I would wait a little bit. I would do this and make sure that I'm consistently making this much for, a certain amount of time. Hi! Now, after you figure out how many, you have to figure out what are the different options I have for getting consistent. So there's a lot of, ways to get normal, sales, but I like to focus on the consistent ones when I'm considering, quitting a full-time job, or I'm telling someone you should quit your full-time job to do this full-time. So we've talked about this before, but subscription services, does anyone do that now? Has anyone tried doing subscription services? That's a good way to know that people are going to be ordering, or that you at least have that money coming in for the next however many months. Thanks for the great YouTube videos. Yeah, I'm glad you like them. So, has anyone tried doing subscription services? Another thing I do, this is kind of, a lot of people say, no, this isn't a good way, but it is what helped me grow and part of my long-term plan. Perfect. That's just something that it made me feel comfortable in quitting my job, because I was able to see, okay, this money is going to be coming in. So wholesale. Wholesale really helped me because I knew that I would have, before I quit my job, I got a couple of wholesale accounts lined up and knew that those shops and stuff would be purchasing for, the next year or so at least. So if you can do wholesale, a lot of states can't, and that's okay. I'm going to go over some other things you could do, but that is a good way if you're going to either move into a storefront and you want to make sure you're going to be able to pay rent, or quit your job. I've tried, I couldn't get it off the ground. What do you sell? How much does it cost to have a website? So it depends. There's all different. You can do Shopify, WordPress, Squarespace. I've tried all those, but be careful that when you are comparing, that you see the hidden fees and what it costs the second year. A lot of those places would say it's this much, but sometimes that's just the first year price. Like on WordPress, Bluehost, that kind of got me there because it was just a starting price. Okay, cookies. you have different flavors. I've said this a lot, but pop-ups, farmers markets, that is another thing you could do and set up on a consistent schedule. So farmers market especially, because I'm going to be there every week for the whole summer or whatever you sign up for. If you're in a place though that you only have them in the summer, that is why I'd recommend pop-ups. So you can have that going during the summer, get the farmers markets, and know that you'll be bringing in that much money during the summer, and then setting up like consistent pop-ups. So you could even come up with a deal to work with. What do you say when you mean pop-up? Okay, so pop-up is where most of the time you just bring your supplies, but sometimes they will need you to bring your own stuff to set up, and you will go to, let's say, like a boutique or a coffee shop and set up a table and your cookies or whatever you're selling, and sell to their customers for maybe a couple hours on a Saturday or whenever really you want. Or not what you want, but what the people that own the shop want. But you have to talk it over with the shop first. But you could, those things really help a lot of the shop owners. So if it is helping them like you want it to and bringing people in for them, that might be something that you do every month with them. So you could there are so many ways to grow your home bakery business if you just actually are okay with getting out and doing events. No pop-up I've ever been at or hosted has ever charged, but some places are more, in some cities. Yesterday someone was saying that they have a lot of places that charge for pop-ups. So that is sometimes a good thing though, because then they know what they're doing and they're probably promoting it, so you're not the only one promoting it. If you are willing to get out there, and because you do a lot of events too, and go out in the community and do events and stuff, they're kind of a pain, but you can really, you can make more than what you're making in your in your full-time job. Do you need a license to sell at the farmer's market? So most of the time a farmer's market is a lot more serious than pop-ups, because pop-ups are usually just a one-time thing sometimes, or it's not as, in a farmer's market there will be health inspectors coming around, there will be people checking your licenses usually, so you definitely need your cottage license. I recommend getting it anyway, but at a farmer's market, most of the time, if it's a professional one, you will definitely need one. You will most likely need insurance. Around here, everyone pretty much now says you have to have insurance, but a lot of states are different. Is 4 flavors too low, or would 6 be better for a pop-up? 6 sounds like a good amount. It depends on the size of the pop-up, but I find that there's a sweet spot where some people will say 1 of each, and that's usually around 6 or so, but a lot of people in the group, they will do way more than that and do really well. Okay. Yes, currently just 5 flavors. I'm trying to nail down to get a consistent flow. Where are you located? I'm in Ohio, in Troy. So, but when I first started my home bakery business, I was not in Troy, but I started in New Bremen, which is a small town. So when people say that they don't want to start selling macarons because no one knows what they are and they live in a small town, I graduated with 50 people. It was a very small town. No one knew what macarons were. So, it's kind of better that way because you're introducing it to them and then you become known for that. So I started in New Bremen, and Troy was a really cool place that I think the macarons will do really well there. I'm in Indiana, no picks needed. So I did a couple farmers markets around where I lived, and Troy was always the best farmers market. That's how I decided to open up a shop here. And it's what I recommend for people that, oh, no, license needed. Okay. So that's what I always recommend if you're thinking about opening a shop, is to test out farmers markets if you're able to move to a different city. If you're not, I didn't have kids or anything, so I was able to just pick up and move without worrying about schools. But I tested out farmers markets around the area to see which one did best, and then decided to open the shop there. I want to do home business like making macarons on top of my Social Security pension from December, but I haven't tried doing basic macarons yet. I want to, though. I bake cakes and decorate. Would you sell the cakes too? I think pop-ups aren't allowed in Florida. So that might have changed. I'm not 100% sure, but they do a lot of events. So it might just be what you call them, because a lot of the Florida bakers in the group do events. So they might just need, they might just call it something different. Did I answer this already? Do you need a license to sell at the farmer's market? You pretty much need your cottage license to do anything, but it depends on the farmer's market. Would it be normal for a pop-up to only charge 1%? So it depends, because that's not really like a thing of your sales. I mean, okay, it depends, because it's not like pop-ups aren't really like a really popular thing yet, because so a lot of people don't have like certain rules and stuff for it. So it's kind of just whatever the shop owner wants to do, which if you think it's reasonable, do it. If not, you know, there's so many shops you could do, especially if you have a big following or you have a lot of customers that you know will come in. You can show that to the shop owners, and it's kind of good for them, giving them business. I want to quit my job in December and do baking, especially macarons. I need help do macarons. Have you checked out my YouTube channel? I just can't imagine making macarons without real butter and cream, not to mention cream cheese. So, yeah, that does. There are some people in the group now that also aren't allowed to, and they've kind of just worked around it. There are ways to make them taste really good. The goal would just be for that is just you are just temporarily doing it as a home bakery, then you move into maybe a commercial kitchen you rent, then a storefront. So it's kind of like, can I make enough to get my customers to, you know, like my product before I move into there? Will you have live show making basic macarons? I don't know. That could be something I do. It just takes so long to let them dry and stuff that it's hard to do it live. But maybe I could do that. Farmers markets, I said that. Any way you can get like reoccurring income. Like think about, will you do a video on how to set up a farmer's market stand while keeping the cakes or cupcakes cold or fresh? Is it worth it? So I do have a video on my YouTube channel about doing farmers markets, and I would just recommend keeping everything in a cooler, even if it's not that hot out, because when the sun hits it, it'll melt. Is ganache okay under cottage law? It depends on your state. I make macarons in my home oven, nothing special, and with 3 pans. I do it full-time, 3 mats and pans. I do it full-time, but I'm hoping to have a baking studio when I return to the States. I feel like I could make them faster and I wouldn't have to work so hard. What is a reasonable amount of time for baking a batch? So that depends. I used to say it was 4 hours when I was a home baker, but you are absolutely right. When you get into a storefront and you have commercial equipment, it is insane how much time you save. Like, I was not expecting that. I was not rushing to open a storefront because I was kind of just like, okay, I'm good baking at home doing this. And if a storefront comes available and it's a good fit, I'll do it. But if I would have known how much you can make, like, I thought even in a commercial oven, I would still be doing 1 tray at a time. But I do 5 trays at a time now. And there's like 35 full macarons on each tray. So whatever that is, it's so many macarons in just one batch, and I don't have to bake them as long. So instead of doing 18 minutes for 18 macarons, I do 15 and a half minutes for whatever 35 times 5 is. So like, I can get a full batch. So I used to make 1 batch at a time, which made 55 macarons at home. And now I multiply that by 5 and do that big of a batch in the big mixer, and then pipe those all out and bake them all. and the baking time takes, you know, like a little over a half hour. It's insane. But the problem is, if you forget to set the timer, it's not just 18 macarons you're ruining 175 macarons. So that has happened before, and that is very upsetting because you've ruined half of your batch then. Right now I make 26 macarons in an hour and I sell around 40 to 50 dozen a week. Honestly, it's exhausting. The home bakery part is so there's different challenges, but baking wise, the home bakery part is the hardest part of all of it. That's the hardest you're going to work. I mean, the shop is hard in a different way because, yeah, that's awesome. It's definitely a dream to work smarter, not harder. The home bakery is harder in more of a physical way because you have to make more and or you have to take time to make more or whatever. But the bakery, it's more like the baking part becomes easier. It's just like getting people in, hiring people. There's just different things that are hard, but it's not as like physically hard on your body, which really takes a toll on you. Okay, I shouldn't complain that much. I mean, I'm not like a minor or something. So working at home for 4 hours at minimum wage, which is $7.25, I think it would make $29. Yes, and I just say start at that. But if you've been doing this for a while, I would raise it if you can. Maybe eventually. So also treat it when you're doing it, when you want to do it full time and you're doing it part time, treat it like a job. Make a schedule, like show up, post consistently on your Instagram, and take it seriously. Like treat it like a job, because there are people in the Home Bakery Blueprint program that are making $1,200 to $2,600 a week consistently. You can absolutely do your baking business as a full-time job. I wish I could make my current salary making macarons, but it would definitely be a great income during retirement. Yeah, and the good thing about it is some of the people in the program are doing it part-time just to supplement their income, because a lot of people in the program are nurses that work like 3 days a week, what seems like 24 hours a day, but I mean, not really, but 3 days a week, and then they do the baking on the side, and they want to keep their nursing job. So that's something I see a lot, that some people are like, I want to keep this job for benefits and everything, but I want to bake on the side. The good thing about a home bakery business is you totally control how many orders you take. You could just do, what I tell those people is just to maybe make a certain amount of macarons or whatever you're making per week, and when you sell out, you sell out. And everyone starts to know that after a while, and they know that, okay, I got to get them quick. So you aren't taking custom orders. It's a phenomenal side hustle. Yeah, it really is, especially when you realize you control it and you don't have to just take custom orders and you're not controlled by your clients. So it's definitely possible to do it as your full-time job. Okay, it's open right now. I might have to put not a deadline, but a closing time on it because it's getting full for this round. But if I'm already talking to you, you don't have to worry about me like closing it on you. But yeah, it can be a good side hustle. You can do it full time. You really just can control whatever you want. But a lot of people are doing this full time because it was making more than what they were making. Quit my nursing career and just made more selling macarons this week than I did as an RN. Yes, I'm telling you guys, it is very possible if you have your prices right, and once you then get into commercial or you do a storefront, and if you want to start shipping, like, it's unbelievable. I'm 64 and we moved last November, so I could be legit in my cookie business. You're never too old. I'm as busy as I want to be. Yes, that is what a lot of people are like. I'm worried I'm going to get overwhelmed, but nope, you set the rules. It's your business. You can do whatever you want with it. You could literally sell 10 cookies a week if that's what you wanted. You control it.